Well, good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Subcommittee on Economic Development. Tonight, we have the city manager and his staff to make a presentation on the Hamilton Canal project. But before we begin, I'd like to have the clerk call the roll.
Chairman Samaras.
Present?
Council Leary.
Here.
Council Milanazzo.
Here.
3 present.
All right, before we begin, Mr. Manager, could you introduce your staff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, joining me this evening from our Division of Planning and Development is Claire Ricca, Joe Ginowitz, Nick Bossinetto, Kevin Coughlin, Allison Lammy, and in the bleacher seats is Phil Ferreira, Diane Trad, and Chris Hayes.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, much of this meeting is a result of several motions that have been made by myself, Mr. Leary, Mr. Milanazzo, and other councilors. But one of the motions was to talk about the Hamilton Canal and the plan for the Hamilton Canal, the 2008 plan, and does that plan need to be updated, or does it meet your needs as we talk about it today? The way I look at a meeting like this, it's to help provide our constituents with knowledge about the Hamilton Canal project and the garage. I look at this like a puzzle with many pieces, and I think this will help, and I see the report that you've presented tonight. This is a good report to give our constituents, the people who do watch these meetings, a good idea of what's happening. I think that's what we need. We need to know. It's been a while since we've had a complete overview. So before we ask any questions, why don't you make the presentation as you see fit?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And like I said, this is our Hamilton Canal District update. And I don't think any discussion of the Hamilton Canal District just stays in the Hamilton Canal. There are other areas of the city that impact the reinvention of the Hamilton Canal District. And I'd like to just start with that. This slide shows you the area of discussion that we're going to talk about tonight. Just think of yourself as coming off the Lowell connector, heading into downtown Lowell. And I will be just giving you some points of what we're doing to redevelop this entire area to help out in the Hamilton Canal. First of all is the National Park Service bus parking lot. Right now, if we weren't able to park 11 of their buses outside of the new Hamilton Canal District parking garage, we would have to give up approximately 100 parking spaces in that new garage to accommodate the 11 buses of the National Park Service. So you can imagine that would be quite a loss of revenue for us in funding that canal garage. So the staff at the Division of Planning and Development have worked very hard in the past year or so to negotiate a resolution of this issue with the Lowell Regional Transit Authority and the MBTA, and I must say the LRTA has been very, very cooperative in this endeavor. So what we've been able to do is site a parcel of land out at the LRTA, near the LRTA terminal. And what we're doing is we are redeveloping that parcel so that we will be able to pave it, stripe it, and light it, and make sure it's a safe place for these buses to park. So they're going to be able to park these buses out there rather in the new Hamilton Canal District, saving us parking revenue. As you can see, that's been going for over a year. We expect everything to be done by the fall of 2017, and it's a cost of approximately $1 million. And this is city funds that are being used to use it, but it's $1 million well spent because it's going to generate much more revenue than $1 million in the years ahead for the Hamilton Canal parking garage. The next project is the Connector Ramp project. Right now, if you're heading up Gorham Street and you want to get onto the Lowell Connector, there's only one lane of turn to get onto the connector. And that makes traffic back up, because if you don't get in that lane, by the time you get to Keith Academy, you're never going to get on the connector ramp. And it causes quite a traffic backup. So what we're doing is we're going to be creating 2 access lanes for that traffic to get onto the connector ramp. And so there'll be one lane of direct traffic continuing out towards Gorham Street, but there'll be two turn lanes to get onto the Lowell connector. This is really going to improve the traffic flow in that area and make it much easier for people to access the connector and for their travel out of the city of Lowell. Now come back down, and we're heading down the Thorndike Street. We're going to widen Thorndike Street. What we're going to do is we're going to take the sidewalk on the South Common side of the roadway. And this is going to allow us to widen Thorndike Street and have dedicated left-hand turns going into the Gallagher Terminal, because right now, if you're coming down Thorndike Street and you want to take a left-hand turn into the Gallagher Terminal, you've got to do it out of just one of the two lanes that currently exist, and that causes traffic to back up on Gorham Street, on Thorndike Street. And conversely, when you're going up Thorndike Street, and if you want to take the left onto Highland Street, right now there's no dedicated lane, and traffic backs up completely. So we're going to have a dedicated left-hand turn onto Highland Street. So by having these two dedicated turns and also Thorndike Street wider, it's going to be a much better flow of traffic. What's the percentage you say that it's going to help the traffic flow on Thorndike Street?
It should help it by about a third.
And when I tell you that we are taking away the sidewalk on the South Common part, well, we're going to replicate that sidewalk, though, because that's the next project, and that's the South Common Phase 1. This is a combination of city funds and a park grant that we got from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We're going to be creating a walkway from the Gallagher Terminal all the way across the South Common with lighting that is going to make it a safe walkway. But also we're going to have a new multi-use path from the Gallagher Terminal all the way up to Highland Street. So people will be able to still walk from the Gallagher Terminal up to Highland Street. They could ride their bikes on this multi-use path or whatever other mode of transportation they use. So I think that's going to make a great difference on Thorndike Street, improve traffic flow, and make it much safer. So now, because now you'll have dedicated left-hand turns on both the Gallagher Terminal and on Highland Street. We expect this to be. What would you think would be the completion date of this? We're funding this with the park grant.
The funding is $400,000 from park grant, $400,000 we got from the Complete Streets program because we had a very good policy, and then I think it's $379,000 from city matching funds, and this all will be done by June 30th of this year.
And remember, we got $2 million from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts MassWorks grant to help with the widening of Thorndike Street. So the funding is there, and that will be completed very soon, and we'll see significant work start in the springtime on the widening of Thorndike Street.
Could you repeat the amount? So 400,000 for the park?
Yes, another $400,000 from the Complete Streets program, and that was because the council passed a very good Complete Streets policy. And then the matching funds, I want to say it's 379. I believe that's it. Yes, and that was city match for the park grant.
Thank you.
So now you have that nice thoroughfare from the Lowell connector all the way down to the Lot overpass. Increase not only in ability to travel down it, but also the public safety involved with it also. So now let's get to the Lot overpass.
Okay, just a quick
Yep.
question, if I could. Let's go back to, and through you to Nick. You're saying it's going to resolve the traffic by a third. Can you kind of explain that further? What do you
Sure.
mean it's actually like third of what exactly?
All right, so as Councilor Mercier knows, I love to sit out there and count the cars that go by on the roadway. So what I did is I sat at the intersection by the YMCA and I counted cars. How many cars were on each lane? So going outbound of the city to the Lowell connector, I counted how many cars are in each lane. 67% of all cars are in that right lane, And if you look at it, that's the traffic pattern all the way up here on Dutton Street. Everybody gets on that right lane, and so 2/3 of all traffic is in the right lane, 1/3 of all traffic is in the left lane. So that's called lane utilization. So by making the on-ramp 2 lanes, you'll be able to use both lanes of Dutton and Thorndike, and that increases capacity by 33% without doing anything to the roadway. Simply by allowing people, removing that bottleneck, now you can use both lanes. People will have the ability to use the roadway as it's meant to be.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge Councilor Mercier is here also.
Okay, so now, as I said, we've now talked about the thoroughfare from the Lowell connector and how much it's going to be improved in the near future. Let's talk about the lot overpass redesign. This is a mammoth undertaking which is funded by the state. The projected cost is $15 million to do the lot overpass. And we really expect to be starting the lot overpass sometime in the summer of 2017. But we've got to arrive at the final design. And basically it comes down to the following option. First of all, is we can take the existing structure and rehabilitate it to make it a safer walkway, a safer travel area for the residents and people visiting Lowell. Or we can do what we were talking about, or we've affectionately referred to as the big fill. And that's where we just have a lane. It doesn't go underneath the overpass. It just comes right from Thorndike Street. The great thing about that is that we can have right-hand turns right into the Hamilton Canal District. Think of it right now. If you're coming from the Lowell connector and you're coming down to the Hamilton Canal, if you miss that ramp up to Appleton Street, you end up in downtown Lowell before you'll ever get to the Hamilton Canal. And conversely, if you're coming back the other way, if you miss that ramp up to Middlesex Street, you're out of Lowell before you get towards the Hamilton Canal or any of those other areas. So it is still a design that we're working on. The problem and the concerns that people have expressed is there going to be a traffic backup because of so many traffic lights? Because you're going to have a traffic light at Appleton Street, you're going to have one at Middlesex Street, and so forth. So we're working, Nick Bostonetto was working on those issues right now, and I expect in the very near future we will be presenting to the City Council both options, talking about the pros and cons, and then get a sense from the council how you want to proceed, whether you think it's in the best interest to rehabilitate the existing structure as it is, or to have a whole new design where it's just one roadway without going underneath the lot overpass. So that will be coming through very soon.
What time frame do you anticipate making that that decision for the council, or bringing that before the council for the design?
I would think probably within a month.
We actually have a transportation subcommittee meeting scheduled for next week.
Okay, and that's where you bring your proposals at that point?
And that's when we'll show you, and we can discuss this further. We really want to get to the Hamilton Canal at this presentation.
Okay, just one last question to it. You said construction 2018, is that 17 or 2018 when you'll begin really working on the Lord Overpass? What time frame do you, it says here anticipated?
Yes.
2018.
The ad date is April 2018 is when the bid would go out to the construction companies, and they would start mobilizing in spring of 2018.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Milonazo, Council.
Thank you. Actually, to go back to the LRTA, if I could just for a minute, on the piece of property, is that actually going to be city-owned land, or is the LRTA going to maintain ownership of that?
No,
Investing the $1 million city-owned land.
Yep.
Okay. And then the other thing on the South Common and widening Thorndike Street, if we're talking about having that completed this year, it obviously is under the design now? Is it on the sidewalks and replicating?
The South Common project comes first because we
Okay.
need to build that multi-use path before we remove the
Correct,
sidewalk.
right.
And that's actually has gone out to bid. We should be getting the bids anytime, and it has to be done by June 30th of this year.
This is actually
because
construction bids.
the construction
Oh,
of
wow,
the South
okay.
Common
Oh,
has to be
oh,
done
terrific.
because the park grant and the complete streets expire June 30th.
Okay.
So there's no option.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
And then as soon as we have that walkway in, then we'll be able to start with the widening of Thorndike Street. And we know the design of that has been completed. Well, it will be complete,
Yep.
and we will be able to proceed with the Thorndike Street widening right afterwards. Okay? All right, now down to the Hamilton Canal. We've given this slide because I think it's important is, we always talk about parcels 8 and 9 and parcel 2 and 3 and 4, and it's hard sometimes to think about those in the abstract. So what we've done is we have provided this slide for you, and we've designated in them each parcel that we're talking about. As we go through this presentation for the different developments, I'll refer to those parcel numbers as to what developments they're going to be slated for, and you can just use this map just so that you can orient yourself to where in the Hamilton Canal these projects are going to be. First of all, the Judicial Center. As you know, work has already begun on the Judicial Center, and you can see that the Judicial Center is in the lower left-hand corner of the slide. And as we all know, is the Judicial Center is going to be located, as you come down that ramp on the top of the Lord overpass, heading down to Dutton Street, it's going to be right there to the right as you come down the ramp. They're doing, as Claire told me this morning, they're digging out the basement right now as we speak for the Judicial Center, and I've seen we've all seen the projected construction schedule that DCAM has, and they tell us that by May of this year, you will see structural steel rising from the ground. So, I mean, I think that's pretty exciting that it's in full force and effect right now. You're going to really see, you don't see a lot going on now other than earth movement, but by this spring, in early summer, you're going to see structural steel rising from the ground in the Judicial Center coming to fruition in the Hamilton Canal. As we stated, this is a state project. We anticipate that it's going to be completed in January of 2020 and a projected cost of $255 million into that one facility. That's pretty impressive. The next, Genesis. This has been sort of an off and on project. When Genesis first came to us, they had a tremendous proposal. What they had was a signature building on parcels 2, 3A, and 4. If you can see, though, that's in the front of the Hamilton Canal. 2, 3A, and 4 is where the Genesis proposal is slated to be. Now, when they first came to us, they had a signature building that had commercial space on the first floor, had a partnership with UMass Lowell on the upper floors where they would be a teaching institution for students of UMass Lowell. And then they would have a skilled nursing facility on other floors. Over the past year, I would say, is that we've been negotiating with Genesis because, quite honestly, based upon the current economy and tenancies and their relationship with UMass Lowell, they scaled back the project. And they scaled it back to a place where we said, we're not going to do this. You're either going to build that signature building with commercial on the first floor and a partnership with UMass Lowell, or you're not going to build it at all. Because this is probably 3 of the most visible lots in the entire Hamilton Canal District. And we want to make sure a signature building is there. So it's been off and on. Quite honestly, I would say 2 weeks ago, I never expected that this would ever come to fruition. But yesterday, the principals of Genesis came to us and said that they're fully committed, they're 100% committed to coming to the Hamilton Canal District. They want to come there. They want to work with us to locate there. And they're now working on getting that signature building and presenting it to us so that we're satisfied that it's going to be a great project for the Hamilton Canal. So it's like the phoenix that arose from the ashes. Just when I thought it was dead, Genesis back on the front burner as a proposal for the Hamilton Canal. The next is, I'm
Quick
sorry.
question, just did they give you any timeframes for proposals or any goals? Would they
Well-
be coming before you again to discuss that, and is it all 3 parcels still, or?
Yeah, it's all 3 parcels. My memory is they want to sign a purchase and sales agreement. And we said, we'll sign a purchase and sales agreement, but one of the conditions of the purchase and sales agreement is that we have the right to approve the design of your building. And if the design of your building doesn't meet our specifications, then we're going to term the deal null and void. And how long do we give them to present that signature building?
They haven't signed the LTA. They have not signed the LDA yet, but in the LDA, they'll have a certain amount of months, now I can't remember what it is, and then we have 2 months to review the design internally. So I think they might have 3 months, and I think they said they'd like to be in the ground in August of this year, if all of this goes well. So they are very, very positive about the project. They did give us some new site plans that, as the manager said, have now gone back to what they originally presented. So they've come back to where we can actually look at something. So we're very positive about it.
So that would involve, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there any reason specifically why they've come back at this point?
What they told me was the designs that they sent to us were just something they sent in to get in. They were never happy with what the architect had given them, and they just wanted to give us something. And when we got them, we all kind of screamed and said, no, this will never, ever work. So now they're coming back with more realistic approach to the whole project. And
But
I
again,
think
as a repeat,
Oh, I think-
they've accepted the principle of the idea of commercial space and
Yes.
yes.
the university, is that?
Yes,
some-
that's one of the reasons also, that their relationship with the university has gotten stronger, according to our sources, and they're much more committed, so that will help them out also.
Thank you.
And we did ask them also, yesterday when I spoke to them, I said, you know, when you get some more information about the programming with UMass Lowell, we'd like to see a whole write-up of that program so we know exactly what's going to happen, how many students, how much space. So they will provide that for us in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's, just through you, through the chair, I mean, August potentially, we were thinking it wouldn't even happen, so that's at least very optimistic.
Yep.
Thank you.
But they still are going to have to give us a signature building. You know, it's just too nice of a site not to have a signature building, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire on that.
But what you're showing is that you have control of the situation. I mean, I think which is important. I mean, because this is our future, the way we look at it, and
Right. We want to make
can't afford to make mistakes.
And we want to make sure whatever buildings are constructed in the Hamilton Canal are signature buildings, because it's a very visible site, and we're going to maintain control over what goes into the district.
Okay.
And that doesn't stop with Genesis. I mean, that's going to be with any development.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next development, and that's Watermark. And Watermark, from all the conversations we have with Watermark, is they are fully committed to locating on parcels 17 and 17A, and that's the 2 parcels in the circle on your map. Now, in all fairness to Watermark, is they really can't do anything right now. There's no infrastructure on that side of the canal. Now, when I talk about infrastructure, I'm talking about roads, sidewalks, water, electricity, gas. There's nothing over there. And so nothing can really be constructed on that side of the canal right now. So in fairness to Watermark, they are in a holding pattern relative to starting any type of construction until we complete our infrastructure improvements. Now, I'd like to explain to you, or have Claire explain to you, what we mean by infrastructure. And if you look at your map, it's what's designated in blue. And this is what is being funded with the MassWorks grant that we received from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Economic Development Assistance money that we received from the federal government. And this is going to start this spring. And this is going, I'm just telling you this project is going to make all the difference in the Hamilton Canal. Because all of a sudden, on that side of the canal, we're finally going to have some roadways for people to get in. We're finally going to have some utilities for people to do something. So, Claire, could you give the council a brief overview of what we plan to do with the MassWorks and the Signature Grant?
Sure, absolutely.
The Signature
So
Bridge.
This was the project that started out with the $4.7 million MassWorks grant, which was going to be for the streets and improving the Broadway-Dutton intersection and the Broadway Bridge, putting better sidewalks on either side of the Broadway Bridge. We leveraged that into a $2.5 million grant from EDA, which is going to allow us to build the Signature Bridge and connect HCD North to HCD South for vehicles for the first time, where you wouldn't have to just kind of creep across the Swamp Locks Bridge and cross your fingers. So all of this work will be done simultaneously as one project. Instead of calling it the $2.5 million and the $4.7 million, this is a $7.2 million infrastructure project. We are currently reviewing the bid documents with EDA. We are waiting on one license from the state, and then this project will go out to bid. We will be able, we anticipate this project will be in the ground this summer. There's an 18-month build on it, and so we should be done with this by winter 2018, is that right? That's right. So what this project will do will allow, there may not be too many places for cars to go initially except through the district. However, the pedestrian amenities will be improved greatly. So people walking from downtown back to Mill Number 5, to Jackson Street, to the Judicial Center that's going on back there, to 110 Canal, will be able to make that walk safely and on brand new sidewalks.
Mr. Miller, Councilor?
Thank you. That's a very impressive number, $7.2 million, and the timeline is pretty aggressive as well. My question is, and I almost hate to ask it, but because it's going over the waterways and the canals, does Enel have to get involved, or does FERC have to get involved in any of this design?
So we've resolved all those permitting issues. We were looking to get it's the Chapter 91 permits, which are state permits that we're looking to get, but all of the other issues with DCR, with Enel, et cetera, have been resolved.
Great. Terrific. Congratulations. That's great. That's great.
I'd like to take credit for all of that, but it's the DPD staff that have done all of that. I'm really excited about the MassWorks and the EDA grant, because now you're going to actually, like I said, you're going to see streets there. But think of this, is right now, if we built the Hamilton Canal garage where it's located, you came out of the Hamilton Canal and you wanted to cross over to Jackson Street, you'd have to walk all the way up to the Swamp Locks and then come over the pedestrian bridge and then back down Jackson Street. But this Signature Bridge that is going to be further down near the Hamilton Canal garage, you're now going to be able to exit the Hamilton Canal garage and walk right over that bridge and be right on Jackson Street. It's just spectacular stuff, I think. The next one is something I'd ask Councilor Mercia to pay strict attention to, because you and Councilor Kennedy had great interest in this bridge some time ago. And this is the bridge right near 110 Canal Place, where we had the lighting of the Swamp Locks that evening. And one of the things that we discovered that evening is that it needs a lot of work. It wasn't very well lit, and that's what we're going to address right now. So we have $630,000 from a FLAP grant. I remembered that. And what we're going to do is we're going to improve. This is a pedestrian bridge. There's no vehicular traffic that's going to go over the bridge. But we're going to improve this bridge with railings, so it's much safer for the general public to walk over this bridge. And we're also going to increase the lighting on this bridge so that it, you know, it's much more aesthetically pleasing. People will feel safer and won't be afraid to walk over the bridge at nighttime. So this is going to help out the Hamilton Canal District also from a pedestrian standpoint. We anticipate, that's going to be we anticipate that starting in the next couple of months and completed in the fall of 2018. So it's good stuff. This HCD North infrastructure, I sort of jumped the gun on this because I was so excited about it to talk about the advantages that it's going to have. But this is what we talked about, the MassWorks grant and the Signature Bridge. And we, like Claire said, we have a very aggressive time frame for it, and it should be that way because it's so important to develop that side of the Hamilton Canal. Now, the Hamilton Canal District parking garage. Rest assured, the Hamilton Canal District parking garage will be constructed, whether we get the National Park Service land swap or not. We have made a determination that we would love to have that land swap occur, and we will have a use for that property when the land transfer occurs. But that is not going to be an impediment for us to construct the Hamilton Canal garage. We can design that garage so it can sit on our land without that parcel from the National Park Service. So, Claire, would you explain to the council what's going on right now relative to the design and the construction of the Hamilton Canal parking garage?
Sure. So we had an RFQ, request for qualifications, go out. The closing date on that was December 21. We're in the process of reviewing the 3 proposals we received for design of this garage. We look to award a contract probably the 1st of February. We think it will take about a year to design. It should be advertised next spring, which is 2018, with construction to begin summer 2018 on the HCD garage.
Could you explain, for many people don't realize that we're not talking about a lot of land that was necessary in this land swap. Could you just sort of give an idea, if it doesn't happen, how much land we'd be missing? What?
If the land swap doesn't happen,
Yes.
how much we, with reference to the parking garage?
Yes.
It's a very small amount. It's approximately 1,200 square feet. If the land swap does occur, it's something that we could use as a bus stop or potentially more on-street parking. It is not a lot of property.
But it just allows you a better design or more, in a sense.
It's optimal, yeah, if we had that. However, we can do the garage without it.
Mr. Manager, is there any reason, do you see any reason that this won't happen at this point? Or is just that the delay would be such that it would be worth it for us to go on with the garage anyways?
Oh, I fully expect the land swap to occur. It's just I can't predict
Okay.
when it's going to occur. I mean, our estimates, it's not going to be for at least a year. But I don't want that to get in the way of building that. The construction of this garage is far too important. And so what we've done is we've made sure we're going to design it and build it within the footprint that we own, and we can do it.
No, thank you for that. That's, Councilor Mercy.
Thank you.
And
Through you,
Councilor Milonazo.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the city manager, did we anticipate how many cars are going to park in that garage? Did we figure out how many vehicles?
I believe it's around 900. That garage will fit about 900 parking
Which
spaces.
is how many stories?
It's as designed in the code. I think that there are 4 stories, and then there's a setback, and then there's another 5th story setback from the Canal Place 3
Okay,
windows,
thank you.
condominiums, yeah.
But that's important. It's a great point, because if we didn't find this parcel of land up by the Lowell Regional Transit Authority, of those 900 spaces, 100 of them would have been lost to provide for the bus parking.
Thank you for that. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two questions. First, Watermark. Do we have an LDA with Watermark at this point?
No, we don't. We're
Okay.
still negotiating with them.
Okay.
But, in all fairness to them.
Right, there's
it's-
no infrastructure there, no,
yeah,
I
it's-
understand.
They want to see that that's in there before they
Okay.
make a
Okay.
100% commitment.
Okay.
They're like 99%, but
Right.
I can understand in all fairness to them why they want to make sure the infrastructure comes in.
Okay. And then my second question has to do with the land swap. Is this something that can be done administratively, or does it need a vote of the incoming Congress?
I don't believe it needs, I mean, Congresswoman Tsongas's office has been working diligently
Right.
on this land swap. It's not, it's just the federal bureaucracy
Right.
that gets in the way.
Okay.
But I don't think it needs a vote of the Congress. It's really more with the land division
Correct, right.
of the National
Okay.
Park Service, which
Okay.
is BOCI.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
And again, and just to get back to the watermark, is the LDAs that we sign have strict schedules for design, construction, and all of that. So, it is kind of hard and unfair to Watermark to try and set those schedules without us completing the work to allow them to build the building. So I understand why Watermark is reticent to sign right now.
But, Mr. Manager, you see the importance of this report, because many people really don't understand and say, well, you promised us a building, why don't we have that building? And these are issues that
Right.
really make it difficult, but also show what steps have to take place in order for these things to happen.
Oh, no, and I agree with you. I think it's very important for the public to know that nothing has occurred on that north side of the Hamilton Canal, because there isn't even water over there, so you can't build anything.
Yeah.
And so now that we've got those grants to put that infrastructure in, I think that's going to be an exciting time for that side of the canal.
Okay, thank you.
So the parking garage will be built, and we're proceeding with it right now. We anticipate it's going to cost $35 to $40 million to construct, and it should be completed in the spring of 2020. And parcel 5, the temporary parking lot, that's in the circle on the map. The reason we do this is that we have to provide parking for the Judicial Center, for 110 Canal Place, and for other people who seek to locate in the Hamilton Canal District. So we have to prepare for the eventuality of losing parcels 2, 3A, and 4, because right now that's where the parking is. But if Genesis constructs their development there, or if somebody else comes in and does a development there, we lose that parking. So we have targeted parcel 5 as a possible site for a temporary parking lot. We anticipate that it's going to cost approximately $300,000 to do, and that'll be, you anticipate the fall of 2017 for it to be done? Yeah. And this is just to provide parking until we get the Hamilton Canal parking garage built. So we do have to provide some temporary parking. And if you ask me, what happens if somebody comes in and they want to construct something on parcel 5? Well, across the river on the other side is you have parcels 11 and 14, which could be used as temporary parking for the Hamilton Canal. So I can't express enough what a great job this Division of Planning
You've
and
done some
Development.
anticipating, yeah.
Yeah, because they're anticipating, because they're not going to, they don't act in a crisis mode.
Yeah.
They say, listen, if this happens, what are we going to do to provide the parking for them? And it's like a game of chess, and they're constantly thinking and planning for the future. And I think this is great that we have temporary parking.
I think the outline you've given us, really is terrific. I mean, because it shows timeliness, but also shows where the money is going to come from to say that these certain things will actually happen. But one of the questions about this area, and why we asked the question about the importance of the 2008 plan, I mean, it talks about commercial and residential. And there's a question, should it be more commercial, residential? Do you feel that the plan that we have at this point and the direction we're going in gives you the tools or the wherewithal to make this work? I mean, do you have any suggestions, or do you look at making any changes of any significance to deal with this?
That's an excellent question, and it leads into the last slide of our presentation, and that's the marketing study.
Okay.
You're right. You're 100% correct, is that the original plan for the Hamilton Canal was drafted in 2008. And a lot of things have changed since 2008. And it was a wonderful plan when it was drafted. It was a mix of residential and commercial. But quite honestly, this is 2017. What is the market right now for the Hamilton Canal? Is it continued residential? Is it more commercial? Is it industrial? Whatever it is. So what we've done is we're partnering with Wind Development and LDS Consulting. And I'm going to have Allison Lammy give the details, but I just want to give an overview. What Wind Development is paying for, and we're partnering with LDS Consulting to do a new marketing study for the Hamilton Canal District. And what they're going to do is they're going to find out what should be located there. Should we be concentrating on any residential at all? So we'll be concentrating on commercial only or a mix. Whatever the current atmosphere is for the Hamilton Canal will be determined through this marketing study. And they're reporting directly to the City of Lowell and working directly with Allison Lammy and the rest of the staff at the Division of Planning and Development so that we maintain control over the study and make sure that it's a truly independent study that gauges the true market for it in the eyes of the city. So, Allison, could you just explain for the council what this marketing study entails?
Sure. Thank you. I mean, as the manager said, it really is going to look at and assess the 2008 Hamilton Canal District Master Plan and look at the uses that were identified at that time in today's economy and decide, is it, can we truly accommodate all the uses that were called for in 2008? So specifically, the consultants are going to be looking at the current demand and the price point for both housing and residential and condominium, as well as commercial, office, and retail uses. And they're going to also help identify categories of potential commercial and retail users, end users of the properties. They were brought on board just before the holidays, and as the manager mentioned, the city administration and DPD staff have been meeting with them and working with them on providing them information that we have to make at their disposal. And to date, they've completed a rental analysis, and they're currently working on a condominium and commercial analysis and retail. They are scheduling stakeholder meetings in the coming weeks, so they'll talk to business leaders, other brokers, and folks in the development market around here and the surrounding suburbs. And they hope to have all their research completed by February and a draft report by the end of that month. And then we'll be able to see a copy of that and provide some feedback. They're going to conduct further analysis looking at what people are willing to pay for space, and then can they build space that meets that need, and at what cost does that mean for them to incur? They expect a final report to be available in mid-spring, and then we'll be able to use that really to inform what kind of changes need to happen to the Hamilton Canal District Master Plan. So they'll provide recommendations, and like I said, they'll identify potential end users for the commercial and retail side of that.
Thank you for that. Mr. Councilor Leary?
I know that you're probably working with this already, but just for my own edification and through you I know the mayor had a motion that we passed regarding bringing in folks to market it, and I know UMass Lowell was involved in that, the thought process of the biotech and other educational industries. Is that part of the interested parties that you'd be looking at with them, and how's that actually taking shape right now?
That's an excellent question, because one of the major things we've done as part of this master agreement with Wind Development is we've retained the control over these parcels if we want to develop them, if we get somebody. So we have a parallel marketing program going on right now that was spearheaded by the mayor's motion. And we're going to be hosting an open house at 110 Canal Place probably in the springtime. Kevin, you've been working on it. Could you explain to the council what this open house is going to entail?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Chairman, through you. The mayor is assembling a group of individuals that are highly experienced in the commercial real estate market to work with the DPD staff and work through the manager to identify the proper preparations that we should make in marketing the area and making sure that we put our best foot forward with a good first impression there. We expect to have those discussions with them beginning next week. And the reason we don't have a date certain in regard to this open house is that we want to make sure we're well prepared prior to doing that. But we do know that the area will show better once the snow is gone and, you know, once we have proper ability to view on site. So the plans are that when we are prepared and we do identify the proper market individuals out of the Boston and Cambridge areas and outside of Lowell to come look at the area, that we'll be assembling an open house in the spring, and that we'll be bringing them here and making a formal presentation to them regarding the potential ability to relocate and to take advantage of the good benefits of the Hamilton Canal.
So basically, we're looking at self-promotion in a sense, our own city. I mean, yes, we're going to depend on when to do the study and bring us the information, and they will plan accordingly. But also, we're taking another step, going beyond that, and doing some self-promoting. That's terrific. Councilor Levy.
And I think that's, first of all, I think that's very intelligent. It was a great motion. I'm glad we passed it. And I'm glad you're taking it, you know, the way into the heart of the motion. And I think planning it and doing it right and taking your time doing it's important. The only thing I would say is that you include WIN in that as well. Because I think if they're going to be part of this project, and they are part of it, they should be a part of what you're trying to achieve, even though if it's a parallel study or parallel, activity. But no, I think it's very, very good. Very impressed with everything I've heard tonight. And I think being self-promoting and being very aggressive, I think it's what you really need to be, is aggressive. And this is really one part of that, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilor Milazzo.
Thank you. Again, to end on that note, I mean, that's a very exciting project to bring brokers into the city. I think it probably would also be a good idea to have some of our recent success stories, be it Cronus or the Markley Group or Maycom with their big expansion, actually be there and actually talk about how business-friendly this administration and this city is. So I think that would also, go a long way to attract additional commercial and manufacturing space. I'll close my comments by saying that years ago when, former State Representative Kevin Murphy was part of the delivery team on the state side, and we look at all of the public funds, the federal side, so again, Congresswoman Tsongas, and then the state side between Senator Donahue and Representative Golden, Nangle, and Mom. I mean, it's just amazing the amount of money, the amount of public money that's going into this one neighborhood. So I know we used to tout it back in the mid-'80s and the early '90s, but we have a lot to sing the praises about based on this presentation tonight. Just because everybody's involved. Yes, we're going to do the market study to make sure that what we approved in 2008 still makes sense today without getting into changing the Jackson-Appleton Middlesex Street Urban Renewal Plan and on and on and on. That may come to pass, but that would certainly be something that I think as a council we would certainly all vote on if it was in the best interest of this Hamilton Canal development. So again, congratulations to the administration. This was a very good presentation.
Council, that's an excellent point. If you total up the amount of dollars that are going to be spent in the next 2 to 3 years, just in this area, that came from the state and federal government, it's close to $300 million, and that's incredible. Before we, I know I'm being repetitive when I say this, but I really have to thank the DPD staff. A lot of what they do, nobody sees it. Yeah. When they're figuring out these NL bridges or whether they're safe or when they're looking at infrastructure. Those aren't sexy topics, but they do it day in and day out, and I have to congratulate all of them. Yeah. They do spectacular work. I forgot to mention one person, David Sleeper, as we need somebody to oversee the construction of all of these facilities, so we've hired David to be oversee the construction, but I know Diane and Kevin, who are the directors of the department, would tell you all that the staff are just the best.
Well,
in the
you know,
Commonwealth.
Mr. Manager, at the
We even
beginning,
stole, just for Council Leary's edification, we stole Claire Ricker from Holyoke, and she's working in the city now, so we reach out far and wide to help out the city.
but at the beginning of the meeting, I did state that when you look at the proposal and all the different areas, it is like a puzzle. But what you did tonight, you turned the puzzle into a picture. And I think it's a picture that people can understand. And this bodes well for where we're going. So I want to thank you and your department for this effort. This is really worthwhile. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the presentation as a report of progress.
Second?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
This is impressive. This is magnificent.